Hey, hello, VC. It's we're back in the headquarters of Locked Groove again. So welcome back. It's always good to have visitors. Turn this down a bit. Some good stuff. I was thinking, why don't we play a little game? We're back in the 70's. You know, we just got home from school with our friends. One of them has a basement, and we go down there. It's a typical 70's basement, man. You've got lava lamps, you've got black light posters, there's smoke all over the place. I mean, you're just hanging out with your buddies. And, you know, through the haze, you can see the turntable, and next to that is a stack of records. And so, obviously, you know, every afternoon it's a ritual. You go over there and you listen to a stack of records. You pick one, you know, they're the best you can find, you know, that's what's happening. Well, what if we had the internet back then? I mean, I know the internet would make a lot of things easier, like looking at naked women, for example. I mean, that's a lot easier these days with porn. Back in the old days, you had to wait till your parents went out for groceries and look between your dad's mattresses. But I digress. So, you're back in the 70's, in your friend's basement, and you've got access to the internet. All this music that we've been discovering for the last 15 or 20 years, what would we be listening to then? What would we, I don't want to say substitute, but listen alongside, you know, some of our classics. So first, I'm just going to go through a typical listening 70's pre-internet. You know, what I would be jamming to in that smoke-hazed basement with the black lights and the posters and the lava lamps. And just, you know, that daily ritual. Number one on the list, Black Sabbath. That is a must. You gotta have that one when you're, you know, it's back in the 70's when you're listening. This is kind of a cool one, actually. I didn't know it till I bought it, but still got that nice vertical swirl, but this is a recent print. I don't know, I think 2014 or something. And it just has a nice orange color to it. But this would be number one on my pick. Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean, need I say more? Everybody will be jamming, listening to this one. And, you know, this has got some that you've got to get used to. I mean, there's some classics on here, like 39. It took me a while to kind of warm up to that one, but it's like one of my favorite songs now. Let's see, what is the Prophet song? That right there is almost as epic as Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean, that, I don't know why it didn't get played on the radio. Maybe it was too long, but you never hear about that. That's such an awesome song. So you're definitely going to be listening to that one. You have a hard day at school. You want to laugh. A must. Cheech and Chong. Come on. They had a lot of albums. Well, they had several albums before they made their movies. This is, I'm not sure what number this is. It kind of had a weird gatefold where you can slide the record out this way. And what do you got? And here you got more Cheech and Chongs. But that would be in my pick. Led Zeppelin. I know most people would probably go with 4, but this is my favorite Led Zeppelin. It's got some of my favorite songs in it. It just gives me the true feeling of the 70s when I listen to it. I don't know why, just maybe some of the songs make me feel back to nature, or I'm just not sure about why, but it gives me just a nice 70s vibe. And most of them do anyway. I mean, they were the premier 70s band. And I'm not sure what this is doing in here. This probably wouldn't be in my pick. I guess somebody else slid it in there. But, you know, you get a couple ladies down in the basement. They might want to hear some Fleetwood Mac. You know, something to relate to. And there is a witch in the band. So, this is an absolute must. Yes. Is it my favorite? I don't know. It's tied. The first 5 albums, tied. Everything, almost everything they did up until Tormato is just incredible. I could have picked anything. You know, it's kind of weird. I mean, as beautiful as this album art is, the gatefold is a little lame. Unless this is a different pressing and there's a different gatefold. This one I used to listen to with my cousin a lot. It is the perfect album for that smoky basement feel. I mean, it just gets you up and it makes you feel excited, and there's so many good psychedelic parts. This is a great album. I think it's 1975. And if you haven't heard it in a while, give it a spin. Side 1 is better than side 2. Lots of times I skip side 2, I just play side 1. Well, I do that with a lot of albums, actually. But side 1 on that is a must. And, of course, Rush. 2112. Epic back cover, kimono photograph. It's got the sidelong song. I mean, everything about it is just awesome. I love sidelong songs, and I think that's why I like prog. I don't like all prog, but I like 70s prog. Modern prog, if you got something out there that's worth it, send me a comment and I'll listen to it. But it all, it's like everybody's trying to sound like Yes. And here's the last one, an absolute must. And I only picked one album from each band. But this has got the quintessential Pink Floyd song on it. And that one is Echoes. Dark Side of the Moon is popular, and the more popular one, but if I was going to play any song, you know, to introduce someone to Pink Floyd, it would be Echoes, hands down. 21-minute side-long song. I mean, that is a masterpiece. Probably out of everything I just showed you, this is probably, that song right there is probably the best. Now, we're in our basement, and all of a sudden, a few months earlier, a few years earlier, we got the internet. We got access to information from groups and music all over the world. Stuff that was happening at the exact same time, but we just weren't hearing about it. What would we listen to? I mean, these would be the counterparts. So, first I just want to start off with 2 albums, because they're from the same band. Far Out. This is just known as Far Out by the Far East Family Band. Don't think it has a gatefold. I don't know what pressing it has, but I guess this pressing was limited 750 copies. I got number 98. But they'll do that every so often. I'm not sure if that's cool or what, but the music inside is excellent. And we have another one from same band. Join our mental phase sound. And that's what you're doing when you put this on. I mean, when it came to psychedelic bands, a lot of people thought Pink Floyd was the premier band. I mean, they were. But other people were doing it too. Other bands and groups in other countries were doing it too, and they were doing it just as well. I'm not knocking Floyd. I'm just saying that I feel like people are looking for that perfect album, that album that just exceeds anything Floyd ever did. And they're out there. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't found my favorite album yet. I haven't found my favorite song yet. It's all an exploration. And I will be exploring until they put me into the ground. And by the way, I dug this out. And I just kind of want to make it a mention. Those two I found from this book right here. Julian Cope's Jap Rock Sampler. If you get a chance, read it. I don't know how many are available. I think maybe he just got one pressing. I got it signed. I didn't meet him or anything. I just ordered it and he signed it. But it talks about Japanese psychedelic music through basically the early 60s until late 70s, early 80s. And it's got a lot of good stuff in it. I don't have a lot of this good stuff, but it does. And if we had access to this in the 70s, trust me, we'd be playing this. And I know there's people out there that are saying, well, yeah, I had that album. Or, what are you talking about? Well, for the majority of us, we didn't. You know, we just maybe got a couple bucks a week. We couldn't afford the imports. A lot of our records were hand-me-downs. This one right here is a Canadian space rock band that reminds me a lot of Stereolab. Remember the website? And I think it's still a website. It used to be like a blog spot where you could download albums, and it was called Mutant Sounds. Well, I downloaded this and I fell in love with it. I mean, it's not blow your mind trippy, but it's relaxing. You know, it's got the female harmonies. It's sung in French. It's really good. I don't think it's too hard to find, and it wasn't that expensive. The shipping was more expensive because I got it from Canada. That was more expensive than the album. But if you get a chance, the group's called Eclipse, and I guess that's what the album's called too. Now, here's one of my favorite finds over the last year. I troll YouTube, and the guys on YouTube, they find albums and put them up there, and of course, like every night when I lay down, I listen to 3 or 4. I'm always looking, always exploring. And this band is an electronic band, one of the best you're going to find. It's a duo from Australia, and it's called Cybotron. I guess there's another Cybotron that came out in the 80s. I've heard them, not near as good, so don't get them confused. If you get a chance to get this album. I guess if you was to go like this, you could kind of have a little picture. The gatefold's got a picture of the guys in it, and a nice little story about them. And I don't know if anybody can tell me this, but this won't fit in a conventional plastic sleeve. So, and I'm not sure why. I don't know. This is the only album out of my hundreds that I have that won't fit. I don't know if there's just a reason, if there was a mistake in the artwork, but I'm sitting here right now trying to put one on and I can't. So this is the only record in my collection that doesn't have a sleeve. So if anybody knows why, leave me a comment. I'd appreciate it. Now this may have been in some collections, but I hadn't heard of Can in the 70s. So this, I started really hearing about this after, well, once again, Julian Cope, his album Krautrock Sampler. It seemed like Krautrock just exploded here in the States, and people were listening and having their minds blown. So this would have been in that stack of albums next to that turntable in the smoky, hazy basement with all the lava lamps and black lights. And no, this is not a mistake. It doesn't matter pre, post, after, wherever. You're always going to have Sabbath. Sabbath will always be on the list. And this one was kind of cool. I don't know what pressing it is. It's not an original pressing. It's probably bootleg. I don't see the Vertigo sign on it, but it's a cool color. Kind of a sky blue color with black swirls in it. So it's nice to have. There you go. This one right here, Tim Blake. I think I might have mentioned him in my first video. He played for Gong and Hawkwind. He was on one Hawkwind album, Levitation, and that's my favorite Hawkwind album. And he had a couple of solo albums, and they're pretty good. I mean, this is something you'd kick back to. So, and I like the back, just kind of pulsates at you. Kind of cool like that, but I would definitely have this in my stack of if we had the internet in the 70s. This is my only Asra temple. It's called Asra because he dropped a temple by this time. So this is why it's in there. There's plenty of other ones that I would have. My favorite one is New Age of Earth, but this is a great album, and this would probably have gotten lots of spins. We got a couple more here. I hadn't heard of Agitation Free. I mean, not until maybe 10 years ago. Maybe 15. This album here has got like a 22-minute track on it. It's called Looping 4. Awesome. You know, this is one that you would lounge around, lay around in the beanbag chair with the lava lamps, watching the wax go up and down, and just getting off on, having a great time. And so this makes my list of if we had the internet in the 70s albums. Now this one I'm sure quite a few people had. I'd heard of them, but I didn't really get anything by them until after 2000, and that's Kraftwerk. So this could be a yay or a nay on that one, because I mean, they are a pretty popular band. I mean, that's why I didn't put Tangerine Dream in there. I mean, I almost put them in the 70s, you know, pre-internet. So, I guess that's something that you would listen to. So, but what the heck? It's a good album. It says it has Vertigo, but it doesn't have the Vertigo label. One of their more popular ones. I don't have all their stuff. I hear their earlier stuff is better. I really need to explore that. And that concludes our little game that we were going to play. I'd like to hear what you guys would think. I mean, what would you play? What would be in your basement if we knew about these bands back then? You know, if we had the money to import them, if our record store actually had these for the same price, what would you listen to? And I like to conclude each one of my little episodes with a dollar find. Stuff that I just find in the dollar bin. Is it going to be good, bad? It's just kind of fun to listen to. And we picked this one up. Sam Hinton. Whoever shall have some peanuts. And what attracted to me to this was, it says folk songs for children, right? And it's got things you might find in your pocket, a pocket knife, some peanuts, gum, Jacks, and pills. I mean, there's pills all over this thing here. So I guess kids in the 50s just had random Quaaludes in their pockets. So I had to pick it up just to see what it would sound like. The first song we listened to was on side 2. It was called Groundhog. A lovely little ditty about a man taking his sons hunting for groundhogs and pulling them out of the hole and shooting them and skinning them alive. And it ends on this really great note with the groundhog grease dripping from their chin. I mean, it's such a lovely little song for children. It says it right there. I listened to a couple other ones. This is going into the dollar bin. This will not be part of my collection. It's fun. I mean, if you want to hear about groundhog grease dripping from your chin because you're so happy that it tastes so good, but maybe that's all they had out in the country. Maybe this is Appalachian folk songs. That's it for now. I've really enjoyed talking to you. Happy listening. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you next time.